But hello, my name is Fatima, and I'm starting this channel because I want to start talking about books more. Because I want to start reading more. I used to read a lot, but then I stopped, and I tried to pick up books and stuff, and then I would just I would just zone out and stuff, and so I really wouldn't be reading. I'd just be staring at pages. But recently I started picking it up again, and now I really want to start this because I think this is a good way to keep track of my books and also just talk about them if anyone's interested in listening. If not, that's okay. But, why not? So, yeah, so I'm gonna start talking about this book that I read. This first book is called In Cold Blood. Bleh, In Cold Blood by Truman Capote. I don't know if that's how you say his name, but it's fine. In Cold Blood is a true crime story that takes place in the 1950s. It covers three main groups of people and it's split up into four different sections. The four different sections being The Last to See Them Alive, Persons Unknown, Answer, and The Corner. It covers three main groups of people: the Clutter family, who are the victims of this circumstance; the murderers, Perry Smith and Dick Hickok, his name is Dick Hickok. The detectives, who were primarily the primary detective's name was Dewey. And of course there are other characters, but those were the three main groups that I picked up on. So if you picked up on someone else and you already read this book, then comment below, or if you read this book after, say, hey, not just these people. So in the first section, The Last to See Them Alive, on the first page, Truman Capote goes directly into introducing the setting, and he gives a description of the town Holcomb in Kansas, and on the second page, after he gives a little description, there's a part where Holcomb Bank is all capitalized, and I thought that was interesting. I was like, why are you doing that? Because this is revolving around murder because of murder for money, basically. The Clutters in this chapter are still alive, and as the first title suggests, this gives an overview of the Clutter's last day, and I actually really didn't notice that until I looked through. I was like, oh, that's why he called it The Last to See Them Alive, because this was the last time they were alive. And so there are 6 Clutters in total. There's Mr. Clutter, Herb Clutter, Mrs. Clutter, I believe her name is Bonnie Clutter, I think, Nancy, Kenyon, and 2 other girls who are not really in the story because they left and are in college and are grown, Beverly and Eviana. But the ones who are murdered are the first 4 mentioned. Mr. Clutter is described as a hardworking man who is strict about things like smoking and drinking. One of his friends was quoted saying that, "You've got no mercy at all, Herb. I swear, if you caught a man drinking, out he'd go, and you wouldn't even care if his family was starving." But despite this, it's important to note that though Herb had these aversities to drinking and smoking, he still was he was still known for being kind and charitable. It's just that he had those guidelines, and if you broke those guidelines, he didn't want you working for him. So that was Herb Clutter. He's introduced as the master of River Valley Farm. He's 5'10", and, quote, 154 pounds, the same weight that he weighed from graduating from KSU, Kansas State University, majoring in agriculture. And through the lens of Capote, it seemed that he knew precisely what he wanted in life. And Capote actually says this in the second paragraph. So according to Capote, Herb knows what he wants in life, which is to have a farm, to make money, to have a wife and kids, and that's exactly what he did in his lifetime. The book talks about his apple habit and how, I just thought this was interesting, so I'm putting this in here, his apple habit and how it was ideal apple weather. So from this is a transition into an introduction of the murderers, Dick and Perry. Now, it isn't clear that they're the murderers in this transition, but Truman does make this connection by saying um, that by connecting Mr. Clutter and Dick and Perry through the act of having breakfast. Um, so Perry is described as a man child, not literally, but he pretty much is. He had a tough childhood, and he's literally as tall as a 12-year-old. So there's that. Um, his friend Dick, or rather his former jailmate, and now current friend or associate or acquaintance or whatever you want to call it, um, had a fairly normal childhood. He was athletic, he got recruited to play basketball, but he pushed his offer aside and he started to steal and commit crimes and petty theft. He married a girl who was 16 when he was 19, and I suppose in the 1950s this wasn't strange, but at the same time, he did have weird tendencies towards girls. And so on to the next few characters. Mrs. Clutter was described as quiet and depressed. um, Something that I remember that Capote uh, or Capote or whatever references to is that her ring band was really loose on her finger, and that she made it through the day with only 1 cup of coffee, maybe even two, but really, like, she wasn't a big eater. She was really sad. Um, Out of the two children, it was said that Kenyon had the most resemblance to her, for he too had quiet tendencies. Not a lot was mentioned about Kenyon, but one thing that I picked up on that was associated with him later in reference to the murder was the portable radio that he had in his room. And finally, there's Nancy Clutter, who was popular in high school. She was a really busy person, and the fact that's like the first thing that comes to mind when referencing Nancy Clutter. Ugh, why is that the first thing? Well, something important about her is that she was really nice. She was really kind. Her and her best friend Susan had plans for the future. They both wanted the cucumber. They both wanted to attend art college. Um, she enjoyed art and also just helping people in general. The last day she was alive, she helped a young girl that came to her house make a pie because she was the winner in all the pie making contests. She also had a boy. Okay, so Present Unknown is basically about Dewey, who is a detective trying to come up with reasoning as to why the murders occurred, like what was the motivation, who was associated with the Clutters, and it starts to get into the psychology of the two murderers, um, like Dick and Perry. It talks about Perry's relationship with his father and sister. One of them being his sister sent a letter to Perry in which he talks about how he should be more grateful towards the father and stop stealing. And this letter was actually given to him when he was in jail before the murders of the Clutter family occurred, because he did go to jail before, as I said. And yeah, so and then it also brings an introduction into like the whole town, how they're shook up, except Mrs. Myrtle Claire, who said basically like, like, I don't give a fuck, like, whoever, you know. But then eventually she actually ends up getting robbed. So there's that. And yeah, so I mean, and I'm just going to wrap up there. But overall, this book was really good. I definitely recommend it. It's while reading it, you might find like yourself being like, "Whoa, like this is crazy." But I think it serves as a reminder to um I don't know, it doesn't really serve as a reminder actually. I think it just is like there's so many different thinking and thought processes that go through, like there's so many different ways of thinking that go through the trials of murder, and I think like it just kind of reminded me of how like everyone in life thinks of stuff a little bit differently. And I think all books are always going to remind me to do that. But I don't know. There's a lot in here, and I definitely recommend reading this. If you get scared easily though, or if you get disturbed by like description, this book is very descriptive. So I would recommend that either you try to read it and your whatever results like from reading it like you're okay with, or you just don't read it and maybe you just have an idea like of what happened. So yeah, do whatever you're comfortable with, and thank you for listening and watching. I currently am trying to do a thing where I read all the books that I have, because I have so many books that I just did not read at all. So I'm trying to finish those books, but if you have any suggestions for books to read or books to review, or suggestions on how to do these videos in general, please put that below in the comments. I'm always open to, fixing what I need to fix. And for the suggestions, once I'm done reading all the books that I have, there's always more. So thank you for watching. Have a good day, and yeah, peace out.